Hey everybody, how are you? How are you? How are you? All right, I'm jumping right into this thing because they said I have 10 minutes and I'm a black preacher, which means that's about 3 closes at the end. So I'm not sure I have enough time. I'm just gonna jump right into this thing. My hope today is to take us on a journey where we can talk about innovation, but talk about it through a story, one of my favorite stories in scripture, as well as the story of the church I now lead, Lawndale Christian Community Church. And I kind of want to interweave the two together to help us understand what I think are some of the steps that will help us as we move towards innovation to maybe think about things just a little differently. Kendi, you threw the alley-oop, I'm gonna try to dunk it. Like you threw an alley-oop, I'm definitely gonna try to dunk this thing. Okay, so first of all, you look at my title, Invitation, Interrogation, Incarnation, and Innovation. And what I'm trying to help us recognize is that innovation is not the sum total of just new ideas, growth, and exponential growth, and all these things in a new way. No, it is putting together living life in a way that is countercultural to probably what society would say we should be doing as innovators. And what I want to do is talk through what that might look like and what implications that might have even for us in this room right now. All right, so we'll just start off by talking through this story. So this is the story of this guy named Zacchaeus. Anybody ever heard of this guy? Zacchaeus is a cool guy. When I was a little kid, I learned about him from a song. Zacchaeus was a wee little man, and a wee little man was he. He climbed up in the sycamore tree, because the Lord he wanted to see. Y'all heard that song before, right? Okay. I love that story, but as I got older, I realized the focus of the story wasn't the fact that Zacchaeus was short. I was like, oh, there's more to this story. And I thought we might talk a little bit about this story and how it leads us towards innovation. I want to talk a little bit about those 4 I's I talked about. The first one is invitation. I want you to pay attention to the invitation that's happening in this story. The invitation that we see here is an interesting one because Jesus, to me, is a bit of a bully in this story. Zacchaeus is climbing in a tree because obviously he has some interest in this Jesus guy. Who is this Jesus guy? I've heard a lot about him. I haven't been around him much, but I'm too short. I'm going to climb up in the tree and try to see him, right? And when he gets up there, Jesus calls him out. Like, Jesus, you know this guy's a tax collector. People don't like him. He's not trying to be seen. Jesus says, Zacchaeus, I see you up there. You can't hide. Do me a favor. Come down. I'm coming to your house. Not, can I come to your house? Not, do you accept company? He just shows up and says, come down, I'm coming to your house. Bit of a bully. But Zacchaeus comes down at once and welcomes him gladly. What I want you to recognize about this invitation is there's an invitation that Jesus is making. He needs to be at Zacchaeus' table. He needs for Jesus, in the embodiment of his ultimate goodness, to be sitting at the table with the embodiment of the ultimate sinner. The person who is broken and messing up everything around him. Jesus says, not only do I need to be with you at the table, but I need to do it on your turf. I need to go to your house. I want you to be comfortable. I want to talk your language. I want to make sure that we understand one another, but I got to sit down and talk with you. The invitation is a mutual one. I talk about this all the time, that there's beauty and brokenness in the invitation. In our community, we make invitations like this. Oh, I went the wrong way. Is it? Yeah, I went the wrong way. All right. Invitations like this. This is the corner of 16th and Hamlin in Chicago. The corner of 16th and Hamlin is where Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. lived in 1966 when he came to work on the Chicago Freedom Movement. It's an excellent place, and on that corner, our development corporation, Lawndale Christian Development Corporation, and one of our people from Lawndale Christian Development Corporation, our deputy director and chief counsel, Miss Whitney Smith, is sitting in the front right here. Give it up for Whitney. Okay. In 2011, we erected the Dr. King Legacy Apartments right on the corner where Dr. King lived, right? 48 units of affordable housing. But I want you to understand something. The invitation here is not just to go, look what we did on the corner of 16th and Hamlin. It's to remind our community of what happened on 16th Street. See, after Dr. Martin Luther King was assassinated in 1968, our neighborhood went up in flames, just like many other neighborhoods all over the United States of America. Can I tell you the difference about what happened in North Lawndale, though, versus what happened in Detroit and other places? Our neighborhood wasn't mad because our civil rights leader was assassinated. They were mad because their neighbor got killed. This was Dr. King who played at the pool hall. This was Dr. King whose kids I walked to the park with. This was Coretta Scott who I saw at the laundromat down the street. They killed our neighbor Martin. We burned down our own neighborhood. And the then mayor, Richard M. Daley, said, we will never reinvest in 16th Street again. I vow to never put money on that street again. We said, oh, really? Okay. But Dr. King Legacy Apartments doesn't just stand as an invitation to the mayor to say, you don't determine where investment happens. We do. It also stands as an invitation to our community that we have to take ownership for our complicity in the problem too. Why does 16th Street look like it does? Because we were upset and we took our anger out in a way that I have no right to say was wrong or right. But the implication is the same. Now we have abandoned buildings up and down the street. This is a monument and an invitation to, let me point out racism, oppression, and all the ways in which 16th Street has been abandoned. But let me also remind you, if we wouldn't have burned down our own cleaners, if we wouldn't have broke out our own windows, that 16th Street would still be a place thriving. Dr. King Legacy Apartment stands as an invitation for us to recognize the beauty and the brokenness in that narrative. This is invitation. And this is what's happening at the table with Zacchaeus. It's Jesus saying to him, the ultimate goodness is at the table with the ultimate brokenness, and something magical will happen at this table. Can I tell you what's magical about it? That after invitation, what happens is interrogation. Oh, I like this word. Watch this. Interrogation. Now, how do I know? Look at this story. All the people see Zacchaeus and Jesus at the table, and all they can say is, how can he be at the table with that guy? He's at the table with sinners. I thought that this dude claiming to be the Son of God, how in the world is he sitting with, this is not gonna work. But they have no clue, just like we have no clue, of what's actually being said at the table. This is what I love about Luke. Luke doesn't tell us Jesus' conversation with Zacchaeus. We have to infer. I think Jesus is interrogating the brother. Hey, Zacchaeus, I saw you up in the tree. Why are you up in the tree? Well, you know, Jesus, a lot of people around here don't like me, so I wanted to see you, but I didn't want to, they wouldn't have let me in the front line, and, you know, so I went up in the tree. Well, why don't people like you? Well, you know, I stand as a tax collector. You know, I represent the institution, and as I represent the institution, people think I'm the bad guy, but really, I'm just putting the taxes on them that the Roman Empire says I'm supposed to do. Like, I'm not that bad of a guy. Oh, really? Well, it seems like if you live in the community, people will be okay with you. They know it's just your job. Well, okay, sometimes when I come to people's house, I might charge a little extra on top because, you know, I got to pay my bills too, Jesus. He's interrogating. And by the time Jesus is done interrogating and asking him all these questions, Zacchaeus stands up and says, okay, man. I'm going to do something about this, man. I'm sorry. Zacchaeus stood up at the table and said, look, Lord, stop asking me questions, man. I know why people don't like me. I know why people are hating on me. I know that I represent oppressive systems. I know that I represent oppressive structures. And I know that on top of that, I'm just a bad dude. Interrogation becomes important because what we like to say as good innovators is, oh, let's have listening and empowerment sessions. Right? Where we can ask, what are the needs in the community? And what assets do we see? All of that is beautiful, y'all. I'm an asset-based community development guy. That's all good. But we have got to go deeper. Listening and empowerment sessions are not enough anymore. If we're going to be in Malta, Kendra, we got to ask some different questions. And what I'm learning is we can't just ask questions like, what's the needs in the community and how can we fix them? We got to start asking questions like, how did this happen? How did we contribute to this issue? See, Jesus is interrogating Zacchaeus. He's not going to let him get away with saying, this is Rome's fault. They're the ones who put the taxes on. They're the ones who created the segregation in the city. They're the ones who are making the oppressive systems. They're the ones that made bad schools in your neighborhood. I didn't do it. He says, and how are you contributing to that? Interrogation includes recognizing your own complicity in the broken systems that you're trying to eradicate. See, if you can't stand up and say, I've been a part of the problem, then you can't stand up and say you want to be a part of the solution. Zacchaeus stood up and said, fine, Lord, I know I'm part of the problem. What should I do? See, I want to challenge us to stop thinking we're so generous and start recognizing we've been a part of the problem and maybe we need to repair what we broke. Yeah. The amens are getting softer. That's all right. I'm a preacher. I can handle it. For us, these questions were like, what can we do about the issues in our neighborhood? Healthcare was an issue that we came up with in our listening session, and legal care and education and violence and all these things came up. And you know what? We did. We started. I loved being at Grace Church yesterday because when I walked upstairs to their substance use disorder clinic, it was magical because it reminded me of who Lawndale has been. Right? We started off and our neighborhood said, we just need a place where we can have quality health care where people care about us holistically. We started with one little exam room built by high school students. Our church started with high school students in 1978 and their football coach. And they built an exam room. They had one doctor coming to volunteer at the end of the day. And it was just like what Grace was. And I was saying to myself, why did it persevere from 1984 to celebrating 40 years this year in 2024 and growing exponentially to the point it is? It's not because we're great innovators. It's not because we have a growth chart and we said by 2024 we want to have 700 employees, 5 sites, and do every kind of healthcare you possibly can, both proactive and reactive. No. It's because we love our neighborhood and we recognize that we were complicit in why our neighborhood did not have quality, affordable health care. Why? Because I could go drive to a nice doctor. And so I did. I didn't think about my neighborhood. Until I recognized that my choices, the things that I am able to do, my privilege has contributed to the calamity in my community, I won't persevere in trying to be a part of fixing it. So here we are, moving from invitation into interrogation. And once we've interrogated and we've asked ourselves, how can we contribute? The next question becomes, how do we come closer? See, incarnation is a word we love, right? Because we love the incarnation of Christ. In John 1, it says that Jesus loved us so much. I'm going to do it from the Message Bible. It says that Jesus became flesh and moved into the neighborhood. I love it. But can I talk to you a little bit about what I see from incarnation in this passage? Once again, Luke does not tell us exactly what happens in this moment. But I'm about to take you on a journey to use your Holy Ghost imagination. Yeah. See, I'm going to tell you how I see this. Zacchaeus has stood up at the table and says, fine, I'll do something about it. And I believe Zacchaeus walks out and says, Jesus, I'll be back. And he goes door to door, knocks. They open the door. Oh, it's Zacchaeus. What do you want? This time, I want to give you back all of the taxes that I took because I know that you need it. And they go, wow, really? That is amazing. Zacchaeus, but do you realize that you've been stealing from my grandma and my mama and now me? Giving it back to me does not help the 60 years of deprivation and calamity that you caused. Like just giving it back to me doesn't fill that vacuum of oppression that's been going on for generations. He's like, I never thought of it that way. if I wouldn't have come to your house and talked to you and met you, if I wouldn't have come back to try to fix my wrong, I would have never known just how deep the wrong has gone. I would have never known it's not enough to be generous and say, I'll give back to you just what was taken. I realize now that in order for me to actually repair the damage, I have to give back 4 times the amount. Because it's not just about me being generous and saying, I see a broken system, let me fix it. It's about me saying, I was a part of the broken system, let me give some of what I got away to you. See, this idea of incarnation changes the way we see innovation. It's about us coming closer to the problem, not just throwing money at it, not throwing ideas at it, but coming in proximity to the people actually impacted by my complicity. What we've decided to do at Lawndale is not just be a church, but to be incarnate in our neighborhood. 150 families living within a 1-mile diameter, not gathering around theology and doctrine, but geography. At night when the gunshots going off, Whitney heard them too. When she has have children, she'll be dealing with the same dilemma. What school do I send my kid to? Because there's been no investment in my local public schools. When I come to church on Sunday, it's not about whether or not we share the same creeds and principles. It's about what did you go through this week? And how can I walk alongside you in it? See, incarnation leads to a different kind of innovation. It leads to one that's led by love. It leads to one that's led by proximity. It leads to one that says, I want to repair what I broke. We're all complicit, and it's not just one person. It's not just the good white supremacists that did it anymore. It's not just these oppressive structures and systems. They are there, and they are complicit. But also me who was swimming in those waters. Whether I did it intentionally, the impact is the same. We all stand in as repairers of broken walls. We all stand in as repairers of the breach. We all stand in as people who have to repair what we've been a part of breaking, so we don't sound so generous anymore. Now it's not generosity, it's reparation. Yeah. I found out that the Zacchaeus story had nothing to do with the fact that he was short. It's a reparation story. So how do we lead to the innovation? Oh, Jesus says to him after he comes back from knocking on doors and realizing that, Jesus, I realized I couldn't just give back the money I took for Rome. I had to give 4 times my money back. And Jesus goes, oh, now you get it. Now you get it. He doesn't even just say, now that's innovation. No. He says now, please don't miss Jesus' words, because some of us good Christians need to understand that there's some implications for you spiritually as well. You want people to be saved? He says today, salvation has come to this house. Now you saved. So my generosity wasn't saving me? No, that wasn't good enough. Because you were complicit and giving good grants to people and then saying, but report back to me on how you're going to spend it, when you're going to do it, all those things. That is not how salvation comes to the house. How salvation comes to the house is when you go door to door, when you get closer to folks, when you realize the damage that's been done over decades, when you realize that generational poverty is not an accident, when you realize that people living without homes is not an accident, when you realize the structures and systems we see are not accidents, but we all swimming in the same water, and you say, I got to give up more. That's innovation. And that's when Jesus says, oh, now you get it. Today, salvation has come to this house. Y'all, reparation is not just a good word. It's a matter of salvation. This is innovation. Innovation that comes from love. Because love takes sacrifice. For God so loved the world that he gave. You don't have to go no further. Gave. Sacrificed. The most precious thing to him was put on the cross because he loved you. Some of us won't even put our pennies on the cross. Remember, the Son of Man came for one thing. He didn't come to seek and save the innovator. He didn't come to seek and save those who are living approximate in their communities. He didn't come to seek and save those who are using their buildings in creative ways. He didn't come to seek and save none of that. We are all lost. We are all the problem. We all want to be comfortable. We all want things the way we like it. We all want the best for ourselves. We are lost, and we need to sit at the table, be interrogated, invited, and so that we can get incarnate and finally be innovators. Yeah, this is innovation. I'll show you what I mean, and I'm going to get out the way. I'm done screaming at y'all. Look at this. Couple of ways that we're doing this in Lawndale, and I'm gonna get out the way. I know I'm over 10 minutes, but y'all put a black preacher up here. I'm sorry. In Lawndale, I told you we've had our health center for 40 years this year. And our health center has been doing great work for 40 years. But you know what we realized over time? While we were providing great health care, one of the things that was not happening was people in our community were not seeing doctors and practitioners and people working at the health center that look like them. So I'm coming and you praying for me, but there's no black doctors in the whole place. There's no black nurses in the whole. And while we're doing great work, we're also complicit in the fact that we're making our children feel like I can never aspire to be what I see. So that causes us, out of reparation, not out of innovation, to start our medical residency program. We're investing money in training doctors so that the kids in our community in the local elementary school can say, I can come after I finish college and I can do my medical residency in my neighborhood and be a doctor in my community so that people can see and be what they see in front of them. Yeah. But this isn't because we're innovators, it's because we screwed up. Yeah. We were complicit. And so now we're trying to do better, right? Spending $17 million on what we messed up. That's innovation. Our Lawndale Christian Legal Center, which started off as a space just to offer high quality court lawyers, right, for public defenders for our teens, was 18 to 24, which is great. High quality public defense. But what we realized is, if we don't provide all of the wraparound services that people need, once we get them off, even though they was probably innocent in the first place, if they have nowhere to go, they don't have a home when they're done, they still haven't finished their GED, they don't have any workforce development, then they're gonna end up back offending and we're gonna be back in the court defending them again. Yeah. We screwed up. We created one factor that created another problem. And so now we've created the Workforce Development Center in K-Town, the neighborhood over. The goal here is to provide not only a place for people to come when they leave prison, a reentry spot, but a place for them to get workforce development, to understand how to grow, so that they don't find themselves back in the same situations again. This is not just innovation, it's repentance and repair. We were complicit in bringing the same problem we were trying to solve. But if you can't own it, you can't innovate. The Tapestry. Lawndale Christian Development Corporation has a dream of building this beautiful mixed-use development. Housing that will help us in our neighborhood. And I'll tell you why it's special to me. It's not only the tapestry, we also have a little slant and call it El Tapiz. Because while we've been hyper-focused on North Lawndale, what we've watched in Chicago is the increasing number of Latinx folks living in a little village right south of us. And while we've been cultivating everything for North Lawndale, we've watched this population grow. We've seen the population grow in our health center. We even had a migrant shelter in our Hope House this past year. Like it's been insane to watch that grow. But we didn't have housing that was going to merge that together. As a matter of fact, we were perpetuating the segregation. So what is the tapestry? It's a way to weave us together. For us to recognize that perpetuating the segregation will never lead to kingdom living. We're not innovative. We're repairing what we were breaking. I just want you to see that this works the same way. When you come close and you admit that you've messed up, you can also be a repairer. Last one, the Reclaiming Chicago campaign. I'm out your way. There are well over 1,000 vacant lots in our neighborhood where there used to be homes. And in Chicago, and North Lawndale is following suit, we've seen about a 35% decrease in the African-American population. Folks are fleeing, running to the suburbs, running to back down south. A lot of folks in Atlanta, Nashville, Charlotte, but they're not in North Lawndale anymore. And what are we finding? While we are seeking for comfort and chasing what white supremacy told us was the better life, we've left our own communities abandoned, empty, vacant. So the Reclaiming Chicago campaign says we're going to build it back ourselves. Our community is raising the funds ourselves to build brand new homes in our communities. We are organizing together to tell our mayor, our senators, to tell our council people, to tell all of our alder people that we will not stand for our neighborhoods to continue to look this way. You can get on board or we can get you out. When we own the narrative that we've been complicit, it urges us to do the work. So much so that now we at Lawndale have created what's called the Zacchaeus Fund. I'm doing my whole D-Min thesis on reorganizing and making sure that the Zacchaeus Fund is created in a way where we can support the houses being built, the new businesses being thought of, all of the ways that our real estate acquisition can happen in our community by people who live there and who want to see it become what it should have always been. We are trying to raise $10 million, and we are trying to do it in a way that the people on the ground will be the ones making the decisions on how it's spent. Welcome to the Zacchaeus story, a story of repair, a story that started with an invitation that led to an interrogation, that led to incarnation and sustainable innovation. How do you persevere when it gets hard? I got to keep fixing it. I broke it. Why do you stay when things aren't going the way you thought they would? I gotta stay. I was part of the problem anyway. How do you keep going when you want to give up? I can't give up because I broke it. Stop being generous and let's be repairers.